Hi everyone. I'd like to talk about the Paul McCartney archive collection. Now, I want to say straight up front, this is just my thoughts, my opinions. This is not based on any inside knowledge or anything like that. This is just me talking as a fan, somebody who has obsessed more than he should have done over the last 13 years about what's coming next, what will be in it, when are we going to get it. And it's become clear that the speed of the archive releases has slowed down quite a lot over the years. This series has been going now for 12 and a half years. November 2010, the first archive collection was released, Band on the Run. It's 12 and a half years since then. We've had 13 releases overall. So, we're talking roughly one a year on average. But it's very heavily stacked towards the first few years. You can see here this month by month graph of when the archives have been released. We were getting them regularly every year, sometimes two at a time, but in the last few years it's really slowed down, and the last one that we got was Flaming Pie back in 2020. So what could be happening, and could it be that it's time for a reboot of the series, and what might that look like? Again, this is just my speculation on this. So I think there's a big thing looming at the moment, and that is the 50th anniversary of Band on the Run at the back end of this year. And I just find it very difficult to imagine that there won't be something big planned for that anniversary. Now that's difficult when there's been an archive collection, something that in theory, although it never states that it's the definitive word on the album, it pretty much is supposed to be. So where do you go when there's going to be something hopefully released when you've got an archive collection already? We've seen these half-speed remasters released over the years, including Red Rose Speedway just last week. But that's more of a, keeping the thing in print, just giving it a little nudge, keeping the album remembered. Whereas if they were going to do some sort of new archive collection of Band on the Run, that would be a bigger thing. That would be a statement. And I think, they need to be careful about how they do it. But the more I think about it, the more I think it could be an opportunity to reshape the archive collection for future. So I think it's fair to say that had Band on the Run been ignored in the archive collection so far, and let's say they were waiting specifically for the 50th anniversary, what we'd get wouldn't be like this. I mean, this was great. I loved this and I still love this. But this isn't what we would get if there hadn't been a Band on the Run archive. This is slim pickings when it comes to bonus material. We've got some live versions of songs from One Hand Clapping, but it's very noticeable that there is nothing here at all from the sessions of Band on the Run in the bonus material. Now, from reading the McCartney Legacy book over the last few months, we know now that these demo tapes that Paul had stolen from him in Nigeria wasn't the original. They took a copy with them. So Denny Sywell's already said that the band, so before Denny and Henry McCulloch quit the band, just before Paul, Linda and Denny Lane went off to Nigeria, that they'd pretty much recorded the whole album up at Rude Studios as demos up in Scotland. So if Paul took a copy, that would suggest that hopefully that still exists somewhere and we've never heard it. So if that does still exist, it gives a fantastic basis for some kind of expanded Band on the Release run later on this year. Now, it's also noticeable as well that the Paul McCartney Archive Collection, when it was launched back in 2010, it was great, it was fantastic. But I think a lot of box sets have moved on from that. So the concept of offering a remaster of the album and some bonus tracks, most bands, artists now have gone down the remix route. Love it or hate it, that's kind of where we're at now. We know that Paul's albums are being remixed because we're starting to see sort of spatial audio remixes, Dolby Atmos remixes of some of his albums appearing online for streaming. So it suggests that there's remix work going on. And it's interesting that Paul's obviously heavily involved in the direction that the Beatles anniversary packages take and their remixes. But then for his own archive collections, they've stayed away from that, apart from one exception that I'll come on to shortly. So I think whilst it was very kind of modern and certainly award-winning at the time in 2010, the archive collection has evolved certainly into much bigger packages, but I wonder whether it's time to actually give it a kickstart and offer something a lot more additional in future, which I'm going to come on to in a moment. Because if you think of the John Lennon Ultimate Mixers boxes that have come out so far, the two main ones being Imagine and Plastic Ono Band, there's a couple of great concepts that they've got on there. The evolution mixers, which kind of show the evolution of a song from its first demo through to certain ways that they were working on it in the studio through to something more akin to the final version. The Beatles have kind of touched upon that a little bit with Strawberry Fields Forever, showing us the song in development. So there's those evolution mixers, and there's also the element mixers that they do as well, where they just take a particular element of a song and showcase that. Now the best example for me of that is Nicky Hopkins' piano playing on Jealous Guy, where you just hear a piano-only version, and it's absolutely beautiful. Now I'm not saying that Paul McCartney would want to copy what John Lennon Ultimate Mixers are doing, but it certainly shows the possibilities of directions that these boxes can go down that are great, but that it hasn't yet explored. So I wonder whether there's opportunities there for that. Now, there's also opportunities for a remix, and I want to talk about whether or not the Paul McCartney Archive collection could go down a remix route. Now, it has done once. Tug of War, this was released several years ago, and we did get a remix, and it's the only one so far. But this was for technical reasons. There was technical reasons why they did a remix on that archive collection, rather than just the remaster that we've had in other box sets. And basically, it's because of when it was recorded. It was recorded in a period when things were starting to go digital, but hadn't quite fully got there yet. So when this album was originally mixed in 1982, it was the first one of Paul's albums to be mixed digitally. And when they mixed it digitally, they didn't mix it in a high resolution. They mixed it at CD quality. And that kind of locks that quality in. There's nothing you can do about that then on that mix to make it any more high res. Now, a factor that had been well established on the Paul McCartney Archive collections up to that point and beyond is that the Paul McCartney Archive collection gives you a high resolution download of the album. And they couldn't do that with Tug of War because of the way that it had been mixed digitally originally. So they remixed it at high resolution and offered us that remix. It was very telling that what they were trying to do with that remix was trying to be really kind of faithful to the original. I think it's a little bit reverby in places. I still prefer the original mix, but they weren't trying to do, like, for example, as happened on some of the Beatles anniversary mixes, where they're actually trying to create something that's fresh and modern. The intention with this Tug of War mix was actually to try and recreate it as faithfully as possible, so that they could continue to offer that high-res option. And they did give us the original mastering as well in here. Now, that wasn't remastered. It was the original mix that we got on a CD. So there is a precedent there for offering us a remix. So if they decided to go down that route in future, it wouldn't be something that they haven't done before. It wouldn't be a complete about-face. They've done it before. Also, with this, what they've done before, as I mentioned, was, as well as the remix, we got the original mix as well included. Now, I think, personally, if it was up to me, that would be an ideal solution going forward. If they decided to do that with Band on the Run this year, to offer us all these extras like the Rude Studio demos, maybe some orchestral sessions from Abbey Road. So, for example, let's have the string section or the orchestration section from 1985. Let's hear that, because that's a fantastic score and it would be great to hear it in isolation. But maybe they'll take the opportunity to go down the, here's a remix, folks, for Band on the Run for the 50th anniversary. Now, personally, I listened to Band on the Run a few weeks ago, specifically thinking about what could they improve on a remix. If there's one album that doesn't need a remix, it's Band on the Run, but I'll certainly be interested to listen to it if it happens. But if they decided to give us a remix and give us something of the original mix as well, along with side the extras, they've kind of got a precedent for it. But I wondered then whether that could be used as a template for the archive collection going forward. Because obviously the two big elephants missing from the room are Back to the Egg and London Town. Now, I find it inconceivable still that we're not going to get those eventually. But I wonder if at this stage they're holding it back because is it going to take a slightly different direction with Band on the Run 50th anniversary, and could that then be a template for future archive collections such as London Town and Back to the Egg? This is just me speculating, folks. I don't have any information to suggest that's the case. If somebody at MPL happened to stumble across this video, they might watch it and laugh and think, haha, what a load of rubbish. That's not happening. But I'm just trying to go down routes. I'm trying to get clear in my own mind why it's come to a sudden halt when it just doesn't feel like it's finished yet. I could understand them finishing if London Town and Back to the Egg were out, although I really hope it isn't because I won't press to play. I want to give my regards to Broad Street, Off the Ground as well. I would love to see those, but I find it inconceivable that they won't finish off the 1970s. So I wonder if there is a new direction that we could go down there of offering a remix and the original mastering as well with those. The original mix, sorry, but still while sort of trying to claim it as being consistent with something that they've done in the past. There's one other archive collection that I wanted to focus on in this video about sort of highlighting what might point to the future, and that's the last one that came out, Flaming Pie. So this was the super deluxe edition. But there was also, you may remember, a much bigger one than this. Bigger as in the box is huge. And I personally didn't buy that one because I didn't feel that it offered value for money for me, as well as where the heck would I keep the thing? It wouldn't fit it on my shelves. But I was pleased that it didn't offer any additional music. All right, it offered a vinyl version of Ballad of the Skeletons, but that's on the CD in here, so I was still getting that music. Now, this is no secret. Anybody could go and find this information that I found out. That big box did not sell great. There is still a lot of stock available of a very expensive box. It's about £520 in the UK. Now, by my calculations a little while ago, the stock that they had left, I worked it out to be well over £100,000 worth of stock based on what you could have put in your basket before it told you that they haven't got any more left. So I think that I wonder whether they're going to look at offering those big boxes as being something that they don't want to do in future, because they must literally have many tens of thousands of pounds of stock still sat of that particular archive collection for the massive box. And why would you do that? I mean, that could threaten the continuation of the series itself. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that they don't do again, and that something akin to this kind of size is the biggest that they go. To me, that would seem to make sense, because if you know that you can sell, let's say, several thousand of these, and they know that they know what they can sell based on making 3,000 copies of the singles box available, and they've done it with the 71 to 73 set as well. There was 3,000. They know they can sell that. They could probably go a bit more on a regular archive collection, but making something huge, ultra expensive, that doesn't offer additional music, I wonder whether that's a step too far and that we might see the end of that. I hope that offering that product hasn't killed the archive collection. I really do. So, yeah, I think that in terms of Band on the Run, it does seem almost like it would be a wasted opportunity if there isn't something big for the 50th anniversary. I really hope that there is just a normal half-speed master of the vinyl, like we've had these up here. I hope they continue that series, really, but it seems like there's potential to do something great with an expanded Band on the Run. Whether they'll call it Archive Collection or not, I don't know. Whether they call it a Band on the Run Expanded Archive, maybe. so that they can still use that archive phrase and keep that as an ongoing series. I don't know, let's see. Or they might do nothing at all. We really don't know at the moment. They're getting very good lately compared to in the past few years at keeping very tight-lipped and not giving anything away about what's coming. Up until a few years ago, it was quite easy to get sort of rumours in advance, but not so much now. So that's my thoughts on what might happen. I see Band on the Run potentially, if they went down this path, as being a kickstart of the archive collection, but maybe in a slightly different direction, offering a remix and the original mix as well in a package. To kind of please everybody, that keeps that consistency there. I wonder whether they will continue with downloads for the high res option. Again, I personally haven't had problems with the downloads. I've found that a good way to do it, but it feels a little bit outdated now, and I wonder whether they would look at some alternative way of doing that. Again, it would be interesting to see. So what do you think about this? Would you like to see the archive collection continue in exactly the same manner that it has done? Such as, for example, with the way it's been with the latest kind of releases, something like this. Would you like to see them go down a new route? What are you hoping for? Let me know. And no doubt by the end of this year, we'll have an idea as to potentially whether they are going down a new avenue with Band on the Run. If they are going to slip out London Town and Back to the Egg before Band on the Run, well, that had better be quick because we're running out of time really for there to be a good window for that. Some of you might have seen that I was lucky enough to be involved in an interview with Lawrence Juba, Wings guitarist, on Back to the Egg a couple of weeks ago, and we asked him about the archive collection, was it coming? And I certainly got the impression that Lawrence's answer was genuine. I didn't feel like he was fobbing us off with I'm not allowed to say anything, so I'll say that nothing's happening. He seemed genuine, and he said he had absolutely no idea what was happening and had no knowledge of anything coming soon. So we shall see anyway. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on this, how you'd like to see it going in terms of the archive collection for the future. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. I'm looking to hopefully put some more on my shelf, and maybe some of you are too. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.